Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1980s.
I mean, in a sense, we're all vampires.
This is episode 206, recorded April 27th, 2022.
Gruesome Magazine.
My name is Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1980 and 1989. Each episode, my co-host Bill Mulligan, Crystal Cleveland, Chad Hunt, and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this radical, gory, influential, and gruesome decade. Not joining us tonight is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead girl. She is busy. She is busy. Let me tell you, she's got a good excuse, but we're trying to get back on schedule, so we're forging ahead without her, although I really would love to hear what she has to say.
I would have loved to have heard. Yeah.
Also joining us, or maybe first up, is Chad Hunt, comic book artist and co-host of Decades of Horror, the Classic Era, and the 1970s. Chatty baby, how are you?
Feeling a little drained.
Oh, yeah. I mean, after all, in a sense, yeah. Kind of reminds me, that quote kind of reminds me of, who was it, Colin in the What We Do in the Shadows? The energy vampire. Vampire. But last but not least is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, and co-host of Decades of Horror, the 1970s. Bill, how are you?
Doing all right. This movie is one I have to revisit on a regular basis.
Yeah. I don't know why.
I know. Much like the drugs they were taking when they made this movie, it just sort of worms its way into you. So,
all right. So on this podcast, we'll throw out a few details and first impressions, and then take it off from there, talking about whatever odd ends. Probably already know if you read the title of the podcast. Today's film is Lifeforce from 1985. And doesn't that come hither look just want to go into the screen? All right.
That's an unusual look for her, though. You know, that I don't know. Yeah. Something different about
it. Directed by Tobe Hooper. Written by Dan O'Bannon and Don Jakoby, based on Colin Wilson's 1976 novel, The Space Vampires. The cast includes Stephen Railsback, Matilda May, Peter Firth, Frank Finlay, and Patrick Stewart, excuse me, sir. Production company is Eastdram and London Cannon Films. It was filmed in England, in Hampshire, London, and Hertfordshire, I think. Filming date February 2nd to June 1984. Release date June 21st, 1985. The budget estimated at $25 million. The box office, $11,603,545.
Yep.
This movie is about a race of space vampires that arrives in London and infects the populace, beginning an apocalyptic descent into chaos.
Oh, but it's so much more.
Yes. Those darn vampires. Yeah. And their apocalyptic descents. All right. So, Chad.
Yes, sir.
So, a couple of... AKAs first, I'm sorry. Space Intruders was a working title. Vampires, the title of the book, was a working title. Pardon my Spanish, but Fuerzas Siniestra, Sinister Force, in Mexico. Lifeforce, Die Tödliche Bedrohung, the Deadly Menace.
Tödliche Bedrohung.
Tödliche, yeah. The Tödliche. I can't do my German sounds today. I should practice.
Still better than Lifeforce.
Yeah.
So
somebody licked a toad when they made this movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go for tagline, sir.
Okay.
Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, your taglines for this episode are as follows. In outer space, they unleashed a force more evil than the world has ever imagined.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
We've
never
never
imagined
seen that before. We've never seen this tagline before.
Generic.
The cinematic sci-fi event of the 80s.
Terrible. Boy, that would just drive me away.
It sounds like some principal at some high school introducing the local band, you know.
Yeah.
They stole that from when it was used in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s,
Yeah.
70s, and all the other times in the 80s.
First of all, if you call it a sci-fi event, besides getting Harlan Ellison mad at you, it just sounds like you're really you don't know.
Yeah, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Okay. With an insatiable hunger, they are coming, and mankind is their prey.
That's the best so far.
Until this one.
Hmm.
In the blink of an eye, the terror begins.
Okay.
I'm not sure
I take it.
Yeah. None of these sound like they were written by people who actually saw the movie.
Exactly. Which is,
we're
getting the feeling. As we read these, I get the feeling that was the case in a lot of these.
Yeah.
Well, we should look at. I mean, this poster is pretty recognizable, though. I mean,
yeah.
Some movies have tons of different posters. This is pretty dominant, I think.
It's a cool poster, but I don't think it really gives a flavor of what you're about to see.
No.
But I like it. I mean, it's a cool poster.
It does.
The eye looking at, the symmetry of the eyeball in the earth and everything. That's
and there's cool. In the blink of the eye. So that it fits the poster, but I'm not sure. I'm missing where the blink of the eye is in the movie, but okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. All right. Well, let's go to first impressions. And Bill, this was your pick.
Oh yeah. I saw this opening night, Albany, New York. I went with a friend.
Ooh.
I knew nothing about it except what I had seen on maybe Fangoria. Didn't know what to expect exactly, but Tobe Hooper with a whole lot of money doing a science fiction movie. And I saw this and it was not a full theater. I could tell already it was not pulling in the crowds there, but I liked it, but I was kind of baffled by it. And when it was over, my friend was not impressed. And I don't know. I was just like, I'm not exactly sure what I saw. And I've watched it many times since. This film does have a weird draw to me. Kind of takes me back to that time. And I keep thinking maybe this time when I watch it, it's not that I don't understand what's happening. I understand everything that happens in the movie. This isn't Possession. But I'm constantly asking myself, why did they do this way? And why is this movie the way it is? And now I understand a little more from having heard about the problems that they had in the editing, and it's still a weird movie. It's unique. It's an 80s movie. It's a little heartbreaking because it was kind of Tobe Hooper's big shot at legitimacy after Poltergeist, which both made him and broke him, I think. And it didn't do well, and neither did any of the pictures in the 3-picture deal he had with Canon. So it's really kind of a lost opportunity, because here was a genre filmmaker, one of the most important horror directors we ever had, who was given carte blanche to do almost whatever he wanted.
Mm.
And I don't want to say he blew it, because I think a lot of things kind of went wrong with the films. But unfortunately, it didn't pan out. And after this, you can see how his career, there's before Lifeforce and the 3-picture deal, and there's after, because after that, he just was never really given a chance to do anything great again, and ended up just sort of making movies of no terrific merit. Although, I mean, Tobe Hooper's films can be stacked against a lot of people, and he has a lot to show for it. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting film. if you want to call it a bad film, I can't argue with you. If you want to call it so bad it's great, it certainly is watchable. And it's got some marvelous stuff. And I'm not just talking about Matilda May, who is absolutely amazing in it. And there's never been a movie with better nudity, where it's actually part of the plot, and yet completely, so exploitive, and yet makes sense, is logical within its own crazy mind there and everything. You just think, how'd they get away with this? It's so weird. And one last thing, it always reminded me a lot of one of my favorite Hammer movies. Oh God, I'm going to get it wrong, and Jerry's going to write a letter. Quatermass in the Pit, or Quatermass in the Pit.
Yeah.
But definitely not Quartermass in the Pit. I love that movie, and this is a lot like it. It does feel kind of like Tobe Hooper was making his Hammer science fiction movie with a bigger budget than Hammer ever had, and way more nudity. So, if you haven't seen this, you got to see it. Come on, this is the '80s. This is an '80s movie. They'll never make anything like it again.
All righty, probably not.
No.
Chad, how about you? What were your first impressions?
I saw this in the theater too, opening night, and same as Bill, I can almost mirror Bill's whole first impressions there. I read about it in Fangoria. I remember seeing that cadaver, that first cadaver, in Fangoria. So had to go see this, and to tell you the truth, I loved how crazy and wild this movie was. And I still do. I enjoyed it immensely watching it again today. And you're right. It is crazy. It's just out there. But young teenage Chad loved the nudity and but most of all, again mirroring what Bill said, Quatermass in the Pit. I felt like this is a Quatermass movie. This is totally a Quatermass movie. And I don't want to say I expected more from Tobe Hooper, because I don't know a whole lot about production wise what happened during the production and everything. But this is a movie that I still love to this day. I've never been a big fan of Steve Railsback, simply for the fact that I think he played Charles Manson in Helter Skelter at one point, and scared the Jesus out of me when I was a little kid. So I've never. That's all I see of him when I would see anything from him was that.
Freaked you out.
Yeah, and it really freaked me out as a kid. So not that he did a bad job or anything, but it was scary. Those scenes where the cadavers come back to life were startling to me. Really well done prosthetic, and puppetry and stuff like that. Really good gore. Parts of it were really gooey. The Patrick Stewart scene where he's vomiting blood and blood's coming out and it's forming her again were just it was just gooey and nasty, and I loved it. And I just found the story fascinating. It reminded me a lot of the Quatermass stuff about the Quatermass movies would be about, this is how this legend must have came to be,
right,
and that kind of thing. So they were trying to tie vampirism into these aliens that visited Earth at one point, and which was an interesting idea too. But like I said, it owes a lot to Quatermass, and that might be the reason why I love it so much, because I love the Quatermass films and the character of Quatermass. So
I wish there had been a Quatermass character in this movie.
Yeah. There could have easily have been and made it a much more interesting movie. But I thought, but yeah, I love this film, and I continue to love it, and I'm glad we were able to finally come.
Yeah. So I don't remember when I saw that. I should, but I'm thinking that probably means I was high when I first went to it or saw it. But I don't know what to say about this other than, Matilda May is like, what did you say as a teenager, as an early 30s man? Yeah, thought it was great. She was absolutely, or is absolutely beautiful, with a nearly perfect body. Now, apparently they spent a lot of time with makeup on that body, making it look perfect, although, you know, to get into details about that. But I thought I had the same feeling. It felt like Quatermass. You had the scientist and the other person playing like a detective or a policeman or something, or military guy trying to figure stuff out, running from here to there, and that kind of stuff. So between Kane and Carlson, and a couple of the other ones, Bukowski, is that the other guy's name?
Yeah, something like that.
Too many leads.
There are a lot of bit parts in here, but so I don't know. Very cool effects. I love the effect when the vampires are sucking the life out of the victim.
Yeah, that's a great effect.
I just thought that was awesome. That did look nothing like somebody was coloring or scratching on the film. That was great effect, and so was the actual cadavers, or the vampires, I guess. They looked pretty bizarre too. And also, I'm sure you noticed this, but I thought it was cool that the irises looked like spirals.
Yeah.
When they got in real close, which was interesting, I guess. Showed they were an alien, maybe. I don't know what happened in terms of this movie. There's lots of stories about it. I wonder which ones we saw the first time around, because apparently it was released in the U.S. at about an hour and 41 minutes. And then there was like a director's cut that was like 2 hours and 7 minutes. And then it became an hour and 56 minutes. And that's what we saw this time around. Yeah. That's what's
apparently most of the cuts were in the beginning. The whole
and
the scene of
space.
finding the spaceship is, and you can tell when I was watching this movie, one of the things I noticed was this opening scene. As they're exploring, they keep cutting from one scene like to a fade to another, and it seems like they're shortening what is a long journey, of wonder and everything. And I can see why they might have done that, because already it's a fairly long movie, pretty involved movie. I'm not sure audience have the patience, but boy, that ship was beautiful. It was a great design. The inside was really terrific. Some really good imagination went into it, and we don't get to see that much of it.
Yeah, the alien ship.
Yeah, I love that ship. That's one of the coolest designs and unique, but we didn't really get a sense of it. You compare this to like the movie Alien, where they take their time exploring and the mystery and everything. There's a good setup, and then the alien shows up. And I think that's sort of what he was going for here, but wasn't really given the chance to do that. They cut all that out.
Yeah, so I enjoyed it. I think I don't know if I like Steve Railsback or not. He was playing such a psychotic character that that's what he was supposed to be doing, was playing over the top. So you either appreciate the way he did it or not. He certainly wasn't a likable character.
No, and here's the thing: who is the likable character in this movie? I thought it was. I thought it was Peter Firth, but then he has his weirdness where it's like, I'm a natural voyeur. Like, okay, what the hell, Tobe Hooper? What was that all about?
So anyway,
and this woman is a masochist.
Yeah.
She likes being slapped.
Well, that was Railsback, right?
Yeah.
Tom Carlson, Railsback.
That was just a weird scene.
That was that whole scene. Yeah,
it was like a needle scratch. Like, wait, what? Did they just change reels and we're watching a different movie?
This scene's for all you freaks out there. We don't include everybody.
Well, that was very strange. Every time that they talked about Matilda, it was very strange. What does she say? I've become, she basically says, I saw in your inner self the woman that you wanted the most, because they both describe her as having that her let's see, Steve Railsback, Tom Carlson, and the other, who's the one doctor that's Dr. Bukowski, who's goes in there and can't control himself, and it's just so highly charged sexually and pheromones or whatever with attraction that they couldn't control themselves.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting idea. Hard to show. So we're talking about Tobe Hooper, and he did these 3 pictures for Canon.
Yep. This is the first one, right? And then Invaders from Mars, which I'll give him credit. Invaders from Mars is a beloved classic, but it's not a very good movie.
Right.
So I can see where he's like, hey, let's remake this, and with great, puppets and special effects and everything. And they did. Mm-hmm. And the problem still was that Invaders from Mars is still not a great movie. It's a pretty simple story and of its time.
Yeah.
So it didn't really work. And it was another one that there just wasn't an audience for. And then finally, he did Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And that one, I don't know, by that point, maybe Canon just didn't have the ability to exploit it enough, because I think it's a great movie. But it did not catch on.
Right. I think he went for the more comedic side of it in that one, which that was okay, but it's one of his most beloved of the series.
Yeah. But it also got an NC-17 rating, didn't it? That probably hurt it a lot at the box office. So
it's so totally out there compared to anybody that thought they were getting a sequel to the first one. Mm-hmm. Or similar to the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Now this was all after Poltergeist, and I think no one's ever going to know the real story of Poltergeist, apparently. But here he directed a movie that made a fortune, and this should have been the launching pad for greatness. But there were always the rumors that he had nothing to do with the film, that Steven Spielberg either directed the whole thing and he was just a mouthpiece, or they co-directed it, or somewhere in between, and depending on who you talk to, you get different answers.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't get the credit for this big success, which I think is a real shame.
Well, I think Salem's Lot is one of his best films too.
That was a good one.
TV series, but okay, and sadly he passed away in 2017.
Yeah.
Let's go on to Matilda May, the subject of the.
It was not easy to find pictures that I thought I could use.
Right.
Here's the thing. Everyone talks about the nudity because it is spectacular, but listen, there's lots of movies with wall-to-wall full frontal nudity. What makes this one stand out? I mean, she gives a great performance, because when most people are nude, they're conscious of it. And she manages to actually give the sense of it's not that she's not ashamed or anything. It's like she's wearing a skin. Yeah. It makes no difference to her that she's walking around nude, because she's not a human. Mm-hmm. She has no sense of why she should care that she's walking around nude. So she does it with a naturalness that you're just not used to seeing, more so even than people at a nudist colony or something. The lighting, her performance, the direction, whatever, they did a great job on this. And it's easy to overlook because she's just so stunning. But it's a good performance, and the nudity makes perfect sense. It's just that because of the way we are, it's easy to overlook that and just your eyes are falling out like a Tex Avery wolf or something, because she's just such a knockout.
Well, it's not gratuitous. It's like you said, it makes sense to the story. Even her 2 male counterparts never wore. Mm-hmm. They weren't wearing clothes either.
Except they always had strategic pineapples or something in the way for them.
But it's just like a
meat
suit to her. It's just clothes to her is that skin, so.
Now that scene on the bottom still puzzles me to this day. I mean, they're trying to say, okay, vampires are not supernatural. They're aliens. They're scientific. But they have powers that seem more supernatural than scientific. How exactly did that work, that the blood comes out of Patrick Stewart and the other guy and somehow turns into a blood woman, and then she collapses onto the floor. I mean, it's a great scene, but I'm like, what just happened and why? And are we ever going to get an explanation? And the answer is no, you're not. It just happened. There you go. Deal with it. What are these things? What are they capable of? The rules are pretty loosey-goosey.
Yeah,
but we're expected to just believe it when some guy pulls something out of his butt. Oh, by the way, of course, if you hit them with iron and lead, they die. Oh yeah, that's in the handbook. Sure, okay. Never heard that before.
Getting back to the nudity, Justin, I think you guys said this, but I think the other thing about it is it's not. Yeah, she's so matter of fact. The other thing is she moves so beautifully, and that's one of the reasons they cast her, I guess, because she had been a dancer.
Oh, okay. I was just going to ask, was she a dancer?
When she walks on the stairs, she just so perfectly, like toes pointed. It's almost like she glides down the stairs. And even though it is incredibly erotic, which is part of the story, it's supposed to be almost overwhelmingly sexual, but it's not pornographic in any way, and none of the almost sex scenes, I guess, are salacious in any way either. So that's kind of impressive that he was able to do that. Yeah.
I'm not surprised she's a dancer, and there's a tip for folks making horror movies. If you can cast dancers as actors, especially if they're performing as a monster or some supernatural otherworldly creature, that's the way to go, because they really, if they're good at it, they can really just do subtle things that a regular person wouldn't even think of. It really is an art and a craft and something they've spent years doing. It's not simple, and it can yield some pretty amazing results. So good job all around for her. I don't think she did a whole lot else that we've seen.
She did do a lot of other genre stuff, I don't think, but she did she did quite a bit. I mean, she's got 60 some credits, 61 credits.
Oh wow, that's impressive. I know she said she kind of indicates she kind of regrets. I don't know if she regrets doing it. She probably regrets that it's the thing that she will always be remembered for. Which, I get that. But I think she's got nothing to be ashamed of. She did a great job. And boy, she had to, because she really is the straw that stirs the drink of this movie. You've got to buy that, because, like I said, the lead characters, the human characters, are a weird, not entirely likable bunch. The ones that are likable don't have a lot of scenes.
Yeah.
The ones that have a lot of scenes aren't really likable.
Well, I guess we talked about this a little ahead of time, but they had a hard time finding the right woman for this, because nobody wanted to be nude like for 90% of their time on screen. Yeah. So what was that you were saying, Bill, about the?
So they tried every British actor. No British actress would go for this. And so they looked outside of England, and they had according to Tobe Hooper, I've heard this story from a few sources, so it sounds good enough to be true. They had a plane load of actresses coming from Germany and other places, and on the plane they all got to talking, and they agreed that they would put their feet down. They would not do a nude scene. So they come in, they audition them all, and they all say, "I will not do this," except for one actress who agreed she would do it. And who was the one that got all the others to agree to say they wouldn't do it? My hat is off to this woman. That's absolutely brilliant. Great move. She didn't get the role.
Just a little Machiavellian.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man. I don't know if I would have hired her for the part, but I definitely would have hired her for production or something. She's got a good mind for the movie business. Sharp.
Yeah, and apparently, in one way you sort of feel bad for her. She was only like 19 years old, and she's walking around, and there had to be people all over the place.
Oh yeah,
lighting and all kinds of other stuff going on, and but according to stories about it, she was totally at ease.
I have seen some behind the scenes pictures, which I couldn't show, but where she's just sitting there listening to stuff and everything, and is so unself-conscious. You're just like, wow.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's more gaffers and best boys and folks adjusting the lighting cables than you've ever seen in a behind the scenes shot. You know, everyone had to be on set. They didn't take their designated tea time or anything. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Steve rails back as Colonel Carlson.
I don't like his performance. And in one sense, I don't want to blame, because he was great as Manson. But look at him. If he went to jail looking like that, they would have kept him there, because he looked like he looked more like Charles Manson than anyone except Charles Manson. Got the crazy eyes and everything. I mean,
that was a great miniseries back in the 70s.
Yeah, fantastic performance. But the problem is, in this movie, he's still kind of acting Charlie Manson. He's a crazy guy. I don't identify with him. He shows up at the beginning of the movie, disappears for like what, a half an hour or something, and then shows up again. By that time, I've forgotten all about him, and now he's back and he's sweaty and crazy and doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know how anyone could have performed this in a way that I would have liked it, because he's written to be just a weird, flaky, out of control character, and he plays it that way. But it just feels sometimes like he's in a different movie from everyone else. A lot of people feel like they're kind of going off on their own direction here.
Mm-hmm.
And his, I did not particularly.
He seemed lost in this movie. He seemed like he couldn't find a direction for the character.
Which I mean that is consistent with the character, right? He doesn't know what's going on. He started this whole thing, and he doesn't really know what his place is. And by the end of the movie, we still don't know his place. They keep insinuating that maybe he is descended from vampires, or there was some connection before any of this began.
She kept telling him that he's one of them. He's one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But that went nowhere.
Yeah. Nothing.
And now we should say that this film is kind of famous for, they ran out of money and just sort of used what they had, and stuff didn't get shot. And I suspect that maybe some of the stuff that didn't get shot, that would have revealed more. The movie, the one thing I did notice when I went to see it in the theater is it ended. It was one of those movies that just ended.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Like, okay, why? Where's
fairly quick.
Yeah.
Didn't
have time to think about it. Suddenly credits are rolling.
Canon really was thinking this was going to be like a big budget. They were trying to do a blockbusters with Tobe Hooper, and it just wasn't quite working out. And by the end of it, they just sort of just left him alone and went away on, I think it was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Canon was not known for its big budget blockbuster
movies.
You know, they were a low budget company. I still have my pay stub from being in one of their movies. But so they really, when they put a bunch of money into this, they really expected it to do well, and it just did not.
It made the same amount of money that all Canon films made, which was fine when the budget was $1 million, but when the budget was $25 million, that wasn't good.
Yeah. So the other character that we see the most of, Peter Firth, plays a character named Kane.
I liked him more than
Colonel Colin
Kane character.
Yeah.
And he's more of a take charge guy and more of a traditional action hero, up until the weird I'm a natural voyeur thing, which still takes me right out of the movie. When I just like, what the? Every time I see it, I'm like, I've tried to forget this scene, and every time I see it, it reminds me again, what the hell?
And I didn't know if he was saying that to be sarcastic, because he didn't want to leave the room because he wanted to see what was going to happen, and not in a creepy way, but
it came off creepy.
But it came off that way. Yeah.
There's no way to say that line without looking creepy. Try it in real life and see what happens.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I thought he did a good job, though.
Yeah.
He was the most heroic out of all of them, and
yeah. Well, and he's the guy that gave it the real Quatermass feel to me.
Yeah.
He was questioning and talking, the analytical part of it that you get out a Quatermass film.
I loved when these two went to see the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister.
That was a funny
Yeah,
fun
when they
scene.
realized he was infected, and he took the secretary behind the thing, and they just it's like,
We just see the
let's
shot, like,
get out of here.
exit stage right.
Yeah, let's just leave. No, make a scene here.
And scenes like that make you think, were they going for comedy here? Were they, because it's a funny scene, and we laughed. Those of us who were in the theater laughed at it. It was funny. So just tonally, this film is kind of all over the place.
Yeah. But he does a good job, and I don't, it's weird, and his picture in IMDb looks really familiar to him, but not the look of him in this film. And he was nominated for an Oscar for Equus way back in 1977.
Wow.
But I don't know if he's been in any other genre type things.
A lot of these English actors just have that face. That you're like, I've seen this guy before, and you always get a good performance, but sometimes you have a hard time placing where they were from. Like one of the other actors we'll get to, I swore he must have been in a Hammer film, but he wasn't. He just has that English look.
Well, they've always done a lot of British miniseries too.
Yeah,
which is a common thing. So next up, and thanks to Bill for putting these together, Frank Finlay.
See, I liked him. I feel like Frank Finlay and Peter Firth's character is sort of like Quatermass split.
Yeah.
We got the older guy, and we have the young heroic guy, and if you maybe combine them together into one actor, we could have had a. I liked him in this. He just was giving off those old Hammer vibes and looked like he was having a blast making this film, more so than most people.
Especially that scene on the bottom, the picture on the bottom there. He was just he was hamming that up big time. It was an awesome.
He was having fun with that. His face starts puffing up and everything, and he's got that
buggy eyes,
that look of madness. He could do madness real well. So yeah, he was fun. He was fun in this, for sure.
Well, he was also nominated for an Oscar for Othello way back in the 60s.
Oh wow, was he Iago?
You know what? You would have,
because I could see him being a good Iago, if that's how you pronounce it. I could see him doing Shakespearean villainy real well. Yeah, he was fun. I'm sure he's no longer with us, right?
He was Iago. No kidding.
Oh, good
call.
And that was in a film version. Okay, Kat, stop it! You're hitting my microphone.
Yeah, 1966.
Oh, I'll see. I gotta track that down.
And let's see, Othello is Laurence Olivier.
Oh wow, yeah. Well, you couldn't get away with that now.
Yeah.
He died in 2016. So
that's not that
not that long ago.
89. Yeah, he does an excellent job being the calm, steady person, and then going wacko at the end. All right, and
also pulling this ridiculous exposition. Any of the other characters, it would have looked silly and everything, but it's like, you know what? Dr. Fallada seems like he knows what he's doing. I mean, okay, I'll buy it. Sure, whatever. Leaded iron. Yeah, the traditional enemy of vampires. Why not? Why not?
So, Patrick Stewart
jumps
into this one. And it's
got
crazy because he doesn't really play himself for very long, does he?
No, and then
he play himself at all. I'm trying to remember now.
Did he ever? Yeah.
Is he already possessed?
I think when they met him, he was already possessed. Yeah.
He's got a good set of pipes on him. He could almost be a scream queen.
Yeah, he could. I thought the same thing. I said, you never hear Picard scream like that.
Yeah.
Oh, he was great.
Now, okay, with that thing on the bottom, although I love that scene, that's so obviously a fake Patrick Stewart. But, what are you going to do?
Well, I don't know. What would you look like if blood was streaming out of your mouth and eyes?
It's the eyes. The eyes just and the skin and everything just look a little too waxy. But
I agree, but I thought it was a great scene.
yeah, how else are you going to get that
Effects were pretty
to
decent.
happen?
Mhm.
It was cool. It was cool. Again, I don't understand it. I don't know why the vampires didn't do that all the time or what. I guess that was her
That's what
life
That's what led to
force.
her being all red, right? That other scene
Yeah.
Yeah.
that led to the one on the bottom there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And it's a cool shot. And then when she like just sort of plops down and there's
Mhm.
icky blood everywhere, you're like, oh man, just turn this helicopter around and let's go home. There is no fighting these things.
Well, this guy's made a huge living just off of Star Trek and
Oh yeah.
of it.
X-Men.
X-Men. Yeah, Dr. Xavier.
He was also in Excalibur, another one of my favorites from that time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've
He's a
talked
good
about
good
that.
actor. Good actor. Seems like a really good guy. Can do comedy. If you ever saw his on Frasier, he played a great role there. He's a well-trained British actor.
Mhm.
You can't go wrong, right?
So he also gave us. Go ahead. Chuck.
I was just going to say his performance in the movie Logan, where he plays a dying professor, was just that was just
heartbreaking,
incredible.
Or-
How was that nominated for an Academy Award? I don't know.
The Green Room, too.
Yeah, the Green Room.
Oh yeah. Oh, that
Yeah.
movie's so good. He's such a villain in there. And it's talk about playing against type. You see, it's Captain Picard, and you're like, oh no, it's Captain Picard is a neo-Nazi white supremacist scumbag. So
Yeah.
adjust your expectations.
Okay. He also pulled some shots of Aubrey Morris.
Yeah. See, I could have sworn. I swear. I think I've seen Hammer movies where this guy was in the asylum or something, but no, it's just he's got that British character actor look.
Well, what's that bottom? What movie is that bottom picture from?
The bottom picture is from Wicker Man. No, not Wicker Man. Wait. Yes, it is Wicker Man, I think.
Yeah, he's a gravedigger or something. But yeah, he has that look,
Mhm.
even though he's playing like a what is it, Secretary Hazeltine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course,
Percy Hazeltine. Yeah.
The movie I did remember him from was Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got a great role in that and everything. He's fun in
But
this.
he can
twitching
have
guy.
that wild look in his eyes, that vacant look that just looks like he's crazy. He doesn't have. See, he comes and goes pretty quickly too.
Right.
Not a lot of scenes. All righty. Well, let's get to the stars of the shows. And do you know who did the anybody we know that did the effects? I mean, there's an amazingly long list of makeup. John Dykstra was involved in the visual effects.
That explains why those are so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That could have easily been Warlock type visual light effects and stuff like that. But.
Oh, absolutely. Although, I mean, I like the visual effects and everything. They don't always make perfect sense to me. Like at the end, when they have the apocalypse, I don't think that Lifeforce actually has a great vampire zombie apocalypse. It's too much. The streets are crowded, people running around, and then these lights go blasting through, and apparently they turn people into newspaper because suddenly there's an explosion of paper flying through the air, and and then they all fall down, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense, really. But
well, a guy named Nick Maley or Maley, Maley, is listed as the prosthetics crew supervisor.
So is that? But I wonder for prosthetics, would that be the creatures, the possessed humans? I mean, who did the animatronics?
Yeah,
is I guess what I'm wondering.
Yeah, all they list is there's a huge long list of people in their makeup department for makeup effects and prosthetics crew, and Nick Maley is listed as a supervisor. Then there's a ton of people in the art department. They
did a great job. Although I'll say, I mean, to me at least,
effects crew.
It's pretty obvious that the animatronics were animatronics, but that's okay because they're aliens and they're screwed up, mucked up aliens and everything. So the fact that they don't move naturally, Why should they?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I would not compare them favorably. You know, that we have the one zombie woman. I guess I keep calling them zombies because to me they look more like zombies than vampires. But the one vampire woman on the table reminds me a lot of the torso. Her at the top. She reminds me of the torso woman from Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
But I like that one a whole lot better.
Mm-hmm.
It's more realistic. But again, why should these be realistic? But that middle shot, that scene, that sequence there is aces brilliant.
Yes,
the color, you know, the blue and the red and the pretty lights coming out. I mean, it's beautiful, but it's also horrific. And the editing is really good to show, you know, you get the sense that it's absorbing the force and this guy's shriveling while this guy is puffing out. I mean, that must have taken forever to shoot. And I think I have a behind the scenes shot where they show like all the people that had to be there to make this scene work. And it's crazy, but it's a great payoff. That's the most, next to Matilda, that's the most famous scene from this movie.
They're nasty. And you threw up some other effects here.
I love that. I love the vampire bat in the middle. I guess that's their true form.
Great design on that.
It is. It is. And again, does it look like an animatronic puppet? Yeah, sure. But I'm okay with that. I'd rather see that than a CGI one.
It was interesting that when they went into the ship, there was bats everywhere, but they weren't moving, like smaller versions of this, maybe? I don't know.
I thought they were actually those creatures.
Okay. But they were just floating about, like, in space. Is that what?
Because they took one of those creatures back, and then the three regular.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
You'd think they would be taking more of the bat creatures back because they're clearly the aliens, whereas the naked people look like naked people that they picked up for an anal probe or something.
Yeah.
But no, let's take this beautiful naked woman back for science, and grab a few of the aliens too. What the hell? Grab one alien. It's like, grab one alien? Are you kidding? I'd be like Santa Claus with just a net full of those things. Come on. The greatest discovery in history, and you're going to bring back one.
Well, they had to make sure they had room for the naked lady for sure.
So, sure. I mean, priorities.
So the top and bottom pictures are just shots of inside their ship. Right?
Yeah.
The ship has kind of an organic look. Like I don't know if the ship was supposed to be alive or not. When the claws start. Almost
it felt like it gave the impression when the umbrella part started to open up, and
that might have been in the 20 minutes that got cut out. So who knows?
Yeah, 150 miles long and 2 miles wide. Right? Or was that? No, I'm thinking of something else. Never mind.
It was big though. Cool stuff. I really do like that.
Too much science fiction. All right.
Now, there we go.
He had this behind the scenes thing. So
look, it takes a village.
Yeah.
You don't even see all the guys under the table who are like, in uncomfortable positions, yanking on cables and try to make the arm do something.
I know.
Jeez.
So how many? Geez, he's got like what? 5 or? There's at least 3 cameras that I can see. There may be more.
Yeah. Now multiply that by 3, and that's how many people were in the room when Matilda had to walk down the stairs.
Yeah. Well, they did, there was a lot of stuff in there about Tobe Hooper wanting her to have naked pubic area, he
thought that would improve things, and
it did not.
I think someone needed to talk to Tobe about how things work. But that was
I think they did. I'm not sure he listened. So then they went to some tailoring and a little bit of
gluing,
dyeing,
apparently
maybe
trim some wigs, and it's like
and that's the one thing that they do really well is that's not a focus, right? So it's not.
This isn't a Jess Franco movie, so.
Alrighty. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say in closing other than this is one crazy movie. I mean, it's just crazy. It's wild. All the nudity, the space vampires, the sucking the life out of them, the ship, all that stuff is crazy, but it just doesn't quite. It seems like a lot of elements.
Dan O'Bannon writing this. He's always trying to make his audience uncomfortable, whether it was Alien and the face hugger, standing in for like a rape, and then Return of the Living Dead, whatever would make his audience the most uncomfortable. He seemed to go for a lot.
I'm sure that there was a lot of rewriting. There was a lot of stuff going on here. Dan O'Bannon is usually pretty good at having some kind of narrative.
Yeah.
And there really isn't. This film doesn't. It kind of meanders and goes around. But a lot of that could be in the re-editing and stuff, because if I understand correctly, they cut a lot of the stuff from the beginning and then they sort of inserted it in the flashback scene. So, this movie kind of stops and goes and fits and starts and goes off in directions. And,
the editing, I think you're right. I think the editing might have something to do with the, I don't know.
Yeah.
The sort of,
if they would have let Tobe Hooper edit the movie, it would have probably been a lot better movie. Tobe Hooper's
he is a very good editor. It would have been a lot longer.
Well,
long cut.
Yeah.
But you read these things about this, so they had a hard time casting it. They had, I guess, when they brought in Dan O'Bannon and Jakoby, there had already been at least 8 drafts of the script written. It was supposed to be a 17-week shoot. It went way longer than that, and
17 weeks is a long shoot already. So.
Yeah, it says they went to 22 weeks is the information here. Now, who knows?
What do you guys think about, there's always been controversy that they changed the title from Space Vampires to Lifeforce. And I see their point. They were thinking Space Vampire sounds like a low budget canon movie, and this is a high budget canon movie. We want people to realize this is an epic kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that, but Space Vampires really describes the movie pretty well, and Lifeforce is such a generic. I don't know what I'm getting.
Well, I think you hit that on the head. I think canon was like, that sounds like every other B horror movie we've done up to this point. Let's name it something that sounds a little more grand and a little more, a little more oomph. And they thought they went with Lifeforce instead. So, but that's exactly what happened. They didn't want it.
Well, it's a good.
Okay.
No, I think it's a good title for the story, but whether that's going to suck people in, I don't know.
Yeah, I think sometimes they put too much emphasis on a title, because if a movie called Romancing the Stone can be a hit, anything can be a hit. You just got to have that's a weird title. It doesn't make any sense. It sounds like a porno film or something, but if you got the right advertising and the good poster and the word of mouth, and you do all the things that marketing is supposed to do, I think any title can sell.
Yeah.
But then I'm trying to remember what the commercial for this even looked like, and I don't know that by the time it came out whether they really had the resources to put the backing into it that it probably needed to get the right word of mouth out and all. There was a quote that you have in the thing where they were saying, well, a science fiction movie about a naked woman who destroys London is a hard sell. And I'm thinking that's like the least hard sell I've ever heard in my life. I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
I don't know. But on the other hand, though, I can see their side of it, Canon's side of it. Space Vampires just sounds like an exploitation horror film.
Yeah.
And they really were trying to go for something. They were trying to manufacture a blockbuster film.
Yeah.
Well, and it could be they just didn't know how to market something like that too. I don't know.
I don't remember very much marketing for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they said
at all.
This was that Lifeforce, along with Superman 4 and Masters of the Universe, were 3 of their most expensive productions for the canon.
Well,
I don't know about Superman 4, but I think
that was misbegotten.
Masters of the Universe looked a lot more expensive than
Yeah.
this one did, I thought.
You keep, as I recall, I think for Superman 4, it was another one of those where they say they ran out of money. Like, how many times can Canon use the "we ran out of money" excuse? I mean, how many films do you have? Can you do this where, oh, we were 3/4 of the way done and it was looking great, and gosh darn it, we ran out of money again.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, dog ate your homework.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Because in reading through the information about this movie, several people complained about Tobe Hooper's methods, but then there was one on here that says that Patrick Stewart had said several times that Tobe Hooper was his favorite director to work with. Now you got to take.
First time I've heard that.
I wonder what that means, though, because that could well mean that he left them alone. And some actors want to be directed; they want to be told, so they need a strong hand. And some actors hate that and really appreciate it when the director is, basically you're the actor, you understand this character, go ahead and do what you think. And that's cool too, but I think it ends up with a film like this where everybody's sort of on their own page.
Well, and there was information where Stewart suggested different wording and lines, and Hooper took it, so that probably would have something to do with it. Hooper ended up using it. Okay. It's also kind of like Dracula. You have these three things. I mean, they're on the ship, and the ship comes, and everybody's dead on the ship, and
like Demeter,
vaguely, and that may have been something that Colin Wilson used as a backdrop. Well, I'll tell you what. I think that's about it for this episode, folks. Anything left unsaid that?
But Crystal was the one who would have said them. So,
well, we'll have to poll her at the next episode. We do have some feedback, though.
Ooh,
okay.
Let's see.
3 pretty good ones, I think.
Okay.
First up is another one about Howling 2, episode 203 from Lone
Can't
Wolf.
stop talking about that film.
And we might as well have Chad read this since it starts off talking about Chad.
Oh, okay. Lone Wolf says
For Howling 2.
Chad sounded more like Angus Scrimm than Christopher Lee. Those two actors have the best voices in horror cinema. The Howling 2 came out during a weird time in the mid-'80s, a time of off-kilter werewolf films such as Company of Wolves, Silver Bullet, and Teen Wolf, all of which were better than Howling 2.
Yeah.
I'm with Bill and Chad. The Howling 2 is dog poop. That's high praise, if you ask me. Quick thoughts on the franchise. The Howling is a true classic. The Howling 2 is pretty bad, and The Howling 3 is bad for all the good reasons. The Howling 4 is slightly more accurate to the novel, but boring. Howling 5 is actually my favorite sequel, but it rips off The Beast Must Die. You exactly right. Howling 6 rips off the Incredible Hulk TV series. Howling 7 feels like Albert Pune directed it.
Ooh.
And Howling Reborn is a Twilight clone.
Oh.
Yeah, so just stick with the first one. Love you guys.
Yep.
Thanks, Lone Wolf.
Yeah, appreciate it, Lone Wolf.
Accurate,
Nice
Lone Wolf.
See, I like these people know their stuff.
Yeah, they do.
So then we have a couple on Leviathan, number 204. The first one is Brian Clark, who defended Crystal for Howling 2, if you remember. He was the kaiju fan that I told you about that guested on Classic Era. So you want to go ahead and read that, Bill?
Sure. Brian Clark says, I remember renting Leviathan for the first time as a kid and being so freaked out by the severed leg crawling away on its own that I had to shut the movie off and finish it later after I had calmed down. Like Jerry, while I do love Leviathan, I prefer Deep Star 6. It also boasts a cast of great character actors, including one of my favorites, Miguel Ferrer. And I think the design and execution of the monster is more successful, and the miniature work to depict the underwater environment after the seafloor collapses is top shelf. And the secret government experiment plot of Leviathan will, for me, always fall a distant second to the mankind delves in places he's not meant to be and awakens things that want to eat him story of Deep Star 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we'll probably get to Deep
Basically
Star
a
6 at some
giant
point.
shrimp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, and Brian knows his monster movies. Let
Yeah,
me
he
tell
does.
you. Appreciate it, Brian. And then we have another one from Lone Wolf on Leviathan. Chad, you want to
Shall
remain
I?
the voice of Lone Wolf?
Yeah. The voice of Lone Wolf.
That's what's cool about reading feedback. You can give these guys whatever voice you want.
Uh-oh.
There's nothing they can do about it.
Uh-oh.
Did you guys notice? No,
Oh,
I'm not going to do
jeez.
that.
Yeah, don't do that.
That both Leviathan and Deep Star 6 have a RoboCop connection. Both Peter Weller and Miguel Ferrer were in that movie, so I thought it was interesting that they starred in similar underwater horror films. As with most 80s horror movies, I first saw this on HBO back then, and it was a fun ride. This wouldn't be the last time Stan Winston kept his creation in the dark for a good portion of the film. He does it again in 1997's The Relic, which had, in my opinion, his last great monster design. Absolutely. I love that movie, The Relic.
Yeah, yeah.
And wish maybe we can cover it at some point for whatever reason. But by the way, does anyone even know what that Deep Star 6 monster was? It was big crab shrimp.
Yeah. Crab shrimp.
Big lobster.
Crab shrimp.
Heard now Red Lobster, unlimited crab shrimp.
All you can eat.
All
Or
that
can
can eat you. Yeah. I've heard
Crab
people
like
say
me.
that it's a giant prawn or a crab. This was a great review for a fun film.
Thank you,
I
Lowell.
do too. I
Yeah.
always thought it was. It looked like a big, SpongeBob kind of Mr. Krabby
Yeah,
crab
Mr.
looking thing. You know, he pops through the hatch and goes, "I like money."
It looks like the thing. The thing I don't like about swimming in the ocean is you can't see your feet, and I'm always imagining I'm just one step away from stepping on something like the monster from Deep Star 6. You know?
Yeah.
Oh,
Who
well,
knows?
I think Chad's done that. Right?
I have done that. I used to live in Florida. I was about up to my neck, walking on the bottom, and stepped on something huge that flipped me completely out of the water and made a wake that I could only, and it was in the sand.
Oh,
And
God.
it flipped me out of the water, and I just see this big wave, like wake, taking off away from it.
I would have run on top of the water.
Yeah.
People would have thought it was a miracle. Oh, my God.
I didn't want to become the next little Kentner boy.
No.
You know, from Jaws, yeah.
Your mom slaps
no
the
kidding.
sheriff.
I
Yeah.
see somebody on shore is doing the zoom.
Yeah. The Spielberg zoom shot.
Yeah. All right. Well, and I know lots of people have stepped on like jellyfish and stuff like that because can't see
They didn't flip it. No jellyfish ever flipped anyone in the air, though.
No. I'm not saying
Jellyfish
that's a
were
jellyfish.
baby crap compared to what this thing was doing.
Wonder what it was.
I don't know. It didn't feel slick like it was a ray or anything like that. It felt craggy, like almost like rock or something.
The monster that challenged the world.
Yeah. So it was, whatever it was big and pissed off that I stepped on it.
Oh, yeah. Who wouldn't be? I mean,
Yeah.
All right. We appreciate the comments. Keep them coming. Everybody subscribe, make comments. We really like comments.
Sure.
You know,
Tell your friends about us.
Awesome. Yeah.
Your
with
friends that
friends.
are like horror movies.
Have your friends
decades
comment.
Yeah.
Decades of horror isn't just like I've had friends of mine where I say I don't really like horror, and then I start telling them the movies that we do, and they're like, "Oh, that's not really horror." We're pretty liberal, So
yeah. We cast a
from
wide
monster
net.
movies to serial killers to slashers to
Sci-fi movies,
sci-fi
monsters.
movies, yeah.
To whatever the hell this one was. Yeah.
All right. That's it for this episode, but every 2 weeks we'll be focusing on another film released between 1980 and 1989. Next up, we tackle one chosen by, it's Crystal's pick, and she hasn't made it yet, so we're all going to be surprised, except we're pretty sure it'll be from the 1980s. I'm just saying.
You think?
Safe bet.
And another bet that we probably won't like it, but she will.
Oh God, I hope it's
I'm only
not
saying that
Communion.
because she's not here to defend herself.
Yeah.
I hope it's not Communion. All right. Catch us again here in 2 weeks for another great horror movie of the 1980s, as only decades of horror can do it. Say goodnight.
All right, everybody.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.